After a 3-month battle against death, Hong Kong's first child cancer patient to receive a bone marrow transplant is going home. Tonight's documentary, which took half a year to film, takes you through this new chapter in Hong Kong's medical history. Plagued by illness since early childhood, Cheng Fung Ping hasn't been able to enjoy a normal education. At 14, she's still in primary 4. Towards the end of 1989, doctors confirmed that she had chronic myeloid leukemia. Malignant cells were found among the white blood corpuscles produced in her bone marrow. It was a form of blood cancer. Patients become tired easily and often run a fever. Even on medication, they could expect to live no more than 3 or 4 years. Bone marrow transplant is the only cure, but back in 1989, such an operation had never been carried out in Hong Kong. The family was on the verge of despair until one day in the middle of last year, there was good news from the doctors who said that Fung Ping could have her operation. Last year, the first bone marrow transplant in Hong Kong was performed on an adult patient. Fung Ping's operation was to become the first on a child. Her parents knew the risks, but were willing for her to take the chance. The Christmas before Fung Ping went into hospital was one that the family will never forget. All of them were worried that they might not be together again next Christmas. In charge of the historic operation was Dr. Yuan of the Chinese University's Pediatrics Department. He's been a doctor for 17 years, and his greatest hope was to save lives using the bone marrow transplant technique.
我一向都希望有個骨髓移植嘅中心。其實呢，都唔可以話一種係新奇嘅醫學嘅科技啦，因為1970年呢，骨髓移植已經係相當普遍喺先進嘅國家。不過我哋香港係遲過人哋差唔多20年。
Thanks to the generosity of donors, the Hong Kong Pediatrics Bone Marrow Transplant Fund was established 2.5 years ago, 1 year before the Children's Cancer Fund was set up. Drawing on the fund's support, Dr. Yuan started preparing for the operation. Although there wasn't any need to ask the government for money, thus saving valuable time, they still ended up 3 months behind schedule. It took 1 year to obtain government approval to build a new ward and renovate another, and construction took 8 months. Finally, the centre was completed early this year. It has 2 laminar airflow rooms, each costing over $1 million. Equipped with germ filters, the air-conditioned rooms are built with aluminium and stainless steel fixtures to facilitate cleaning. The Hong Kong Pediatrics Bone Marrow Transplant Fund raised a total of $9.7 million. $4 million went to the centre, mainly for equipment purchase. Another reason for the delay in commissioning the centre was a lack of medical personnel. A year after filing an application, the centre still lacked a clinician to handle blood analysis. To avoid further delay, doctors decided to do it themselves. Doctors chose Fung Ping to undergo the first operation for two reasons. She had a chronic form of the disease, and it was still in its early stages. And her sister had matching bone marrow. Statistics show that among people with no blood relation, the chance of finding matching bone marrow is 1 in 10,000. Among brothers and sisters, the chance is as high as 1 in 4.
hospital administrator 嗰度已經係咪 arrange 晒？
隔離病房洗地嗰啲嘢買晒未？嗰啲
要問下藥房先知。
要問藥房，我會問佢藥房得唔得咧？即係頭嗰10日。
A few months before the operation, Dr. Yuan and the personnel involved meet for final preparations. One month before the operation, doctors gave Fung Ping a detailed checkup. The most important thing is to confirm that her condition has not deteriorated, that the cancer has not spread to her brain. They must also make sure that her body functions can stand up to the operation, because it can easily lead to complications and side effects.
即係最初幾日用嗰啲好重嘅藥物啦，希望清除癌細胞。短期嘅副作用就個人嘔啊，唔想食嘢，個口啊可能會爛啊，會肚屙啊，又甩頭髮啦，抵抗力好差嘅。輸入去個骨髓就可能會對病者本身個身體個器官咧，會引起某種程度嘅破壞。我哋用嗰啲藥物咧，就對於佢嗰個卵巢嘅功能咧就會有影響。長遠嚟講，佢第日譬如好翻之後啊，結咗婚啊，生細路仔嘅機會咧就會比正常人細好多。
其實做完呢個手術會唔會話個病會有復發嘅機會㗎？
都可能嘅，有咁嘅可能，都有咁嘅可能性嘅。但係呢，就即係成功率都好高。喺外國呢，即係一般嚟講都係成功率都係60%至70%之間。
由呢次起，將來嘅呢啲細路哥啊千萬細路哥咧都能夠呢得到呢咁樣咁樣嚟挽救翻佢，由而家開始。
希望快啲啦，快啲做咗手術啊，快啲好翻咯。
又有啲開心，又有啲唔開心啦，因為可以做到手術可以好翻啦，不過又要痛。
你咪曾經發過一個夢有關個手術嘅？
係有好多醫生啦，同好多護士，醫生會將啲白血球抽走，然後再輸入啲骨髓入身體度。醫生話做得好成功。
鄭鳳平，我哋好多醫生護士咧就想幫你醫翻好你。聽日起咧，我哋會俾好多藥俾你食嘅嚇，即係幾辛苦你都要食晒嘅喎，你知唔知啊？
你最驚乜嘢啊？
甩頭髮啦。
點解啊？
好肉酸嘅。
好肉酸啊？
係啊。
今朝早嗰度都唔食啊，啲食物話淡冇食都唔食過。
It's Fung Ping's second day in hospital. Surgeons insert a catheter into her vein. This makes it easier to administer injections and nutrients, as well as to take blood samples and transplant bone marrow. Meanwhile, nurses are busy decontaminating equipment in the laminar airflow room. Evening, January the 29th. All is ready. After decontamination procedures, Fung Ping enters a germ-free world to prepare for treatment. The first step in bone marrow transplant involves destroying all the cancer cells in the patient's bone marrow. As soon as Feng Ping enters the isolation ward, treatment begins to destroy her cancer cells. For 4 consecutive days, she has to take a daily dose of 72 anti-cancer pills. On the 5th and 6th days, she has to receive intravenous injections every 6 hours. In just 6 short days, doctors will use 7 to 8 times the normal dosage to kill off each and every cancer cell in order to minimize the chances of a relapse. To prevent Feng Ping's body from rejecting the new bone marrow, doctors use medication to suppress her immunity system. Her normal bone marrow is destroyed as well, so she's left defenseless against germs and viruses. Neither does she have the bone marrow needed to produce blood. Her life hangs in the balance. Even the doctors admit that performing bone marrow transplant is like snatching patients back from the threshold of death. Morning, February the 6th, Feng Ping's 8th day in hospital. 2 pediatric specialists begin the transplant operation. First, Feng Ping's sister is put under general anesthesia. Next, doctors remove 540 cc's of bone marrow from both sides of her pelvis using a syringe like this. Each syringe holds only 3 to 4 cc's, so the operation calls for 150 syringes. It lasts for 1.5 hours. This pouch of bone marrow cells proved to be healthy and will be rushed to the isolation ward and injected into Feng Ping's body in a manner similar to blood transfusion. In 3 to 4 weeks, the new bone marrow will be able to produce blood for Feng Ping. As the anesthetic wears off, Feng Ping's sister feels some pain where the syringes went into her pelvis. She also feels a bit dizzy. But doctors say that while bone marrow donors may lose some blood, the operation does not cause side effects. Before the new bone marrow begins to produce blood, doctors need to keep up a continuous supply of red blood cells to prevent Feng Ping from becoming anemic. They also need to supply blood platelets to stop her from bleeding. The red cells and platelets have to be irradiated before being transferred to Feng Ping so as to suppress the T lymphocytes which can act against her body. On the 20th day after the operation, Dr. Yun finds that Feng Ping's white cell count is on the rise. This shows that the new bone marrow has started producing blood.
可以話我哋贏咗第一回合啦。啲副作用呢就係最容易就係感染病毒啊，同埋細菌佢都冇，連發燒都好少。我幾時都話骨髓移植成敗呢，就係喺護士嘅手度。如果佢啲護理人員呢係水準低嘅話，骨髓移植唔能夠做得成功。
放平，抽血啦嚇！
Caring for post-transplant children involves round-the-clock monitoring, both to detect complications and to prevent patients from coming into contact with germs. For this reason, it calls for a staff 3 to 4 times that of an ordinary cancer ward. After the operation, Feng Ping must still take medicine that suppresses rejection, in addition to plenty of antibiotics.
你唔好諗咁多嘢，飲咗佢即刻飲啖水，然後啷口，好冇？放平，勇敢啲飲咗佢。 食咗佢快啲出翻去㗎啦，翻屋企又嗱要叻啲嘅，拎起個杯飲咗佢。糟啦！咪有痛㗎啦，啲腸嚟啦嗰啲。快啲食啦！快食啊！聽話啦，嗱咁多人看晒你都唔食，人哋醜唔醜㗎你？咁大個，快啲啦，乖你。唔好震啦，唔使驚嘅。冇啦冇啦，嘔晒啦。頭先咧聽人啲嗌，要話嗰樣痛，又先嗌肚痛咁，咪即係幾心唔係好笑咯。幾時最擔心？ 手術之後咯，唔知會點啊！而家佢又唔肯食藥，即係話極佢都唔肯食藥。
Every day, Feng Ping's sister pays her a visit in order to cheer her up. Day 50 after the operation, Feng Ping has not shown signs of serious complications, but she refuses to eat the germ-free meals prepared by nurses.
食條咩好嘛？一條啊！ 唰一聲吞落去啦，擺落口試下先啦。咁你飲多2啖湯啦。
After an hour of persuasion, Nurse Lau manages to make her eat 1 strand of noodle and several spoons of soup.
因為佢哋喺入邊嗰個心情就唔係太好啊，即係好似俾人隔離咗，唔係咁開心咯，所以做一切嘅嘢都唔係好願意咯。鳳萍有一日試過咩都唔肯食，就淨係喊，又唔肯抹身沖涼。
可能係即係某啲藥物食咗落去令到佢嘔，咁即係唔係話啲咩特別嘅大問題嘅，咁但係可能佢驚咗啦，所以變咗好多時一食嘢咁佢就驚嘔。
呢兩個份咪一樣。
Believing that Fengping's loss of appetite is more of a psychological problem, the nurses arrange a private tutor to help her while away the time.
咁咪今日食咁多先嚇，幾好啊！今日做得嚇。
Her sister leaves work early almost every day to keep her company. But there is little improvement. Finally, doctors decide to perform an endoscopy. They find signs of inflammation in the esophagus and stomach, an indication that the new bone marrow is rejecting those parts. Immediate treatment brings improvement after a few weeks, and Fengping is ready to leave. But she can't go home just yet. She must stay in a halfway house because it takes about a year for her immunity system to recover fully after the operation.
就同你打少少局部麻醉喺嗰個位嗰度嚇，咁一陣間就唔會點痛。
Before discharging Fengping, doctors examine her bone marrow once again. The results confirm that the new bone marrow is producing blood normally. In a separate test, the results show that the abnormal chromosomes have disappeared, a sign that the doctors have won the second round.
出院多數我哋會俾一樽咁嘅消毒藥水嚟㗎啦，咁你翻屋企咧就每次同佢沖涼咧，搽一陣薄薄地嘅。呢兩隻藥水咧就洗兩隻唔同嘅細菌啊，嚟到防止嗰啲細菌喺你嗰個傷口嗰度咧感染。
All preparations completed, Dr. Yun announces that Fengping can leave hospital on May the 7th.
翻咗咧自己小心啲，如果唔係咧你就嘥咗家姐俾你啲骨髓，俾啲決心自己繼續落去啦，聽唔聽到？有啲咩唔妥，有啲咩唔舒服，有咩想問想知，就隨時打返嚟俾姑娘，知唔知啊？唔使驚㗎，個姑娘都識你㗎。
出院咯，翻屋企啊嘛，翻屋企啊，好事嚟㗎。嗱，鳳萍今日大日子啊，你出院啊嚇，你應承我食藥好乖，你記唔記得？嗱，呢度咧好多挺藥，但係一粒都唔少得嘅喎嚇，因為對於你即係復原關係好重要啦，係嘛嗱？最緊要公共場所嗰啲就一排都唔好去住，即係去茶樓啊、戲院啊，係咯，最逼不得已先至出下街，有時帶佢行下咁樣啦。不過帶行下時最緊要戴住個口罩，得唔得啊？啊！一個人最緊要係有希望啦，如果冇希望咧，就冇人生樂趣啦。所以我一定要即係話俾佢知，佢有治癒嘅機會嘅。呢次出院咧係一件好事咧，因為佢可以同家人團聚啦，同埋過翻即係正常嘅生活。
一齊啦，一齊慶祝啦！
你哋瞓喺邊度啊？
瞓入呢度。 就瞓喺嗰度。
阿鳳萍瞓喺呢度係嘛？佢瞓喺呢間房係嘛？
This halfway house is rented by the Social Welfare Department for post-transplant patients sponsored by the Hong Kong Pediatrics Bone Marrow Transplant Fund.
點啊，鳳萍喺呢度住咗2個多月，開唔開心啊？
Dr. Yun says Fengping has made it through the first 2 months after the operation, a period in which the death rate is very high. She'll remain in the halfway house until her immunity system recovers. But recovery won't be considered complete unless there is no relapse for 5 years.
34.4公斤。
Fengping still visits the hospital for weekly checkups. According to Dr. Yuan, her operation has cost the government $210,000. This does not include donations that went into setting up the bone marrow transplant center. In June, we visited Feng Ping at her halfway house. She was writing a letter to her uncle and aunt.
姨姐、阿姨，你們好嗎？我已經出了院，手術很成功，很開心。醫生對我很好，時時來看我。我很幸運，醫生說我的病快好了。祝你們身體健康，奉平社。